Welcome to Linux Saloon, a place to discuss tech, open source, and where Linux is always on tap. Each show we have talk about Linux projects such as a distribution, desktop environment, or application. We also chat about the news or any variety of topics from the community, like an open mic night tonight. Anything that is Linux, tech, and open source related is on the table for discussion. I'm Nate, a Linux fitness and vintage tech enthusiast with an almost unhealthy obsession with the open source project. And with me today, I got this packed panel of people. Ooh, an alliteration. I've got Dale, Mike, or full scale for me, Mike, Hipdad, Jinda, Texaco, also known as Rocco, Zebedee Boss, Eris, and Mike Chilson. How is everybody?
Excellent.
Evening.
Okie dokie.
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
That's awesome. I am also doing fantastic. Although I had like a little bit of glitch a little bit earlier, which is why we're about 10 minutes late, 6 minutes late, I guess. But hey, these things happen. Tech it's what makes tech fun, right? At least that's what I tell myself.
Yeah.
Well, if you'd be so kind as to hit that like button and subscribe if you have not already, or join this chat. We have I set up these little event things in Discord. I guess that's what the kids do these days. I don't know. Maybe the kids are moving off to something else. I can't really tell. But we also have a Discord and Telegram group. And also be sure to do the straw poll if you have not done so already. It's cubiclink.com/polls. And tell us what you think about what is your favorite way to learn Linux. So here I can show you. Here we got look at, oh, isn't that neat? I can show you what's going on. All right. So on the docket for today, we're doing an open mic night. I've got a topic here. This is it's going to be from some feedback. So that's a little teaser, and then we'll do some housekeeping, close it out. But first, what have we doing Linux and tech? And before everything just kind of froze up on me, I was going to say, hey, Rocco, do you want to tell everybody about your sound challenges? This is a tech thing, maybe not necessarily Linux, but is audio related. And there's a lot of audio files in Linux. So I wasn't sure if maybe you wanted to say you're having some issues with your XLR connectors or XLR system, or what was going on?
So trying to get everything back set up. One of the things that always drove me nuts was audio and trying to get it perfect. And this mic now, I guess it doesn't sound terrible, but when I do tests in Audacity to see how the mic sounds, it just doesn't sound like it used to. It doesn't sound as good as I think it should. And part of that is the noise floor. If I turn the gain up to make it loud enough for my voice to come through at the levels that it should be, then it picks up too much noise when I'm silent. And then if I turn it down to have the noise floor be silent, then I'm not loud enough. So I don't know if that's a problem with the mic itself, with the XLR cables. It's hooked up to it used to be hooked up to a different mixer, but I purchased a Focusrite 2i2, and the original Focusrites were not powerful enough to give the phantom power for this SMB7. But now this latest generation is, so it does have enough power. It's also got a cloud lifter in between. So I don't know what's going on with it.
A cloud lifter?
Well, a cloud lifter is just adds power to it. I don't know the technical. I'm not a technical genius about it. I just know that I purchased it to add a little bit more oomph to the sound of it, or to the levels of it. And I don't know if, like I said, I don't know if it's my XLR cables or whatever. It just doesn't sound the way I think it should, and I'm not sure why.
Well, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm not picking up any hiss from your sound channel at all. So I don't know whether that's because Discord is filtering a lot of it out, but to me, it sounds really good.
Yeah, I can't tell anything wrong with it either.
Well, I mean, Discord does do some stuff with the audio, but I'm more concerned about, so if I decided I wanted to make a YouTube video, if I decided I wanted to do that,
like a Big Daddy Linux video,
something like that, okay. If I decided
like a Big Daddy
I wanted
Linux
to do
live, potentially.
If I decided I wanted to do that, I don't feel comfortable with when I run it through Audacity and hear what it sounds like. So maybe it sounds okay, and maybe I'm being a little too hard on it, but I feel like it doesn't sound like it should. So I'm not sure what to do about it.
Well, so the easiest way to do it is fire up OBS, get everything ready, and just record yourself for 10 minutes. And then play
Well,
it back.
I did do a couple tests with Audacity. I didn't
No,
do
not
any tests with
Audacity.
OBS. I didn't.
No, exactly. Yeah, forget Audacity because that thing will pick up an ant letting wind at 300 miles away. So forget Audacity for the minute. Just get into OBS, get all your sounds set up the way you want it, and then just record yourself rambling on about something for 10 minutes. And
I
then
never
stop,
ramble.
go back
Never.
and listen. I'm talking about myself. I can ramble forever. You guys know that. But just
No.
record yourself in OBS because that's what it's going to sound like. But remember, that's what it's going to sound like to you. By the time I get it and I'm tone deaf, I'm probably going to go, blimey, his voice is a bit low or his voice is too loud. And then Full Scale Mike will pick it up and go, that sounded great. And Jinder will go, well, you could have done this. And there's what, 12 people in chat at the moment? You've got 12 different opinions on what sound should be like.
Well, I'm one of those guys that really has a problem. If I'm listening to a podcast and the audio is not good, I can't listen to it. Like it has to be decent audio for me to want to listen to it. So that's where I'm at, and I don't want it to be halfway. So I'm still working through the problems. I just don't know exactly where to go with it.
Is this like a pixel out of place thing for you? Is it similar?
It is. It is a pixel out of place.
Okay.
So
All right.
Well then, Nate, if I may then, what you need to do, Rocco, is you need to look at Martin Wimpress's latest audio tool that he has been building for the last 18 months. And it's called Jive Talking. And because the guys who produce his show just do everything live now, they don't do any post-recording or anything. The only thing he does is he tidies up all of the audio with Jive Talking. And maybe that's what you need. And the beauty of it was, which is why I wanted to try it, it does it all automatically. If you're not an audiophile, you can just say, process this file with the presets that Martin's put on there, and it cleans up apparently all the audio. So if one of you clever guys could go out there and try it and let us know if it's any good, because I can't even work out how to install it. So yeah, it's called Jive Talking, and he's got it on his GitHub page.
I'll have to find a link for that. I'll check that out.
So
There's a
my
fellow
question,
on YouTube that's testing microphones, and he puts $50 microphones up against $18,000 condenser microphones, and you'd be amazed. The ones that he likes are sometimes in the sweet spot of $50 to $500, and sometimes the more expensive microphones aren't always the better ones. You may want
Right.
to try a dynamic mic versus a condenser. Condensers are only for people that like condensers, I found in 40 years of doing pro audio.
I was looking at the Rode. What is it? The Rode NT1, I think it is.
That was one he liked.
It's got great reviews, but I'll have to see.
It's very specific, and there's different good mics for women versus men. And women that tend to have squeaky voices, there's a different, again, favorite mic that's better than the others. People that have bassy voices tend to have a very narrow selection of microphones that sound good. There's a lot of podcasters that boost the bass, and it sounds like they're talking in the basement below you, and you're listening through the floor.
Yep. Well, that's why I said I'm very particular about the audio and what I want to listen to. So in turn, that makes me a little bit maybe overcritical on what I would want to put out. So
I think you're being a bit over picky there, Rocco, because as I said, your mic sounds really, really good.
Yeah, that sounds good. Audacity is not the great for monitoring your own.
well, I remember when we were recording Linux User Space, I think we were using Audacity to we were using Audacity to record each one of our audio, and it didn't sound like it does now. It didn't have that problem that I'm having right now, at least. So I'll try OBS. I have OBS installed. I'll try it and do a few tests with it and see how it turns out.
Mm-hmm. And it may be, I don't know how long cables take to degrade, but it may be, as you say, you need to, if they're the original XLR cables, they might have, got hot, cold, brittle, snapped inside, one little, sounds like it's a full scale for me, Mike, that can answer that one. Do they break down that easily?
Sometimes you just have to fiddle around until you hold the broken part, and it can surprise you.
Yeah, so on Rocco's next podcast, we'll see him standing there with a cable in his arm. And yes, and I've got the sound, but I can only keep this for 20 minutes because after 22 minutes, my arm gets tired. Yeah, no, that ain't going to work, is it?
Is it possible that it's interference with one of the pieces of equipment in my room? I mean, is that a thing?
It could be. Yeah. I mean, if the XLR cable is like going near, let's say, an AC power, like a grid power connector, whatever, it's possible.
Well, there's about
for
4,000 wires in here. So
if you just make sure
3,999 ways to find out which one it is.
So I would just see if like you
should
can move it away, like route the XLR cable away from like any sort of like AC power, mains power, I guess is what they might call it in British land.
Because I remember back in the day, like you'd have somebody talking to you, and all of a sudden it'd be going as their phone started buzzing or ringing or ticking off. But that doesn't seem to happen as much nowadays.
Yeah, it's a different frequency they run on now. The GRPS, I think, is what it is. It was the old GRPS would interfere more so with things.
The complete infrastructure of a building grounding system can also have tremendous effects. My high school had a 1,000-seat auditorium, and their lighting board was set up such that the conduits for the lighting power were sitting against touching the conduits that held the microphone lines. And what we ended up having to do was put a 1/4-inch block of wood between all of them so that they didn't touch, and all the grounds only converged at a single point in the building. Took a while for me to convince them. They thought I was doing some of the drugs that the other students were.
You say, I'm crazy, but not for this reason. The audio is a fun thing. I know that there's like my church's audio stuff, they've changed over the years, since they've been in the building for, I guess, almost 30 years now. It used to be all like analog cables, like in these pipes that went all the way to the front. And now they have I think it's like a single Cat 5 cable that it all runs over. And so you don't have that humming anymore, like from the systems, because they've eliminated it through digital means.
That was what I was referring to. You could hear the dimmers as they changed the lights. Mm-hmm. You could hear it coming through the speakers.
Yeah, it's wild. Electricity is a weird thing, isn't it? Well, Rocco, I hope that you're able to stomp out your troubles. I can't hear anything wrong with it, but I'm also not an audiophile at all. In fact, I think I'm partially deaf anyway, and I have tinnitus. So I just assume everybody's mic has that same ringing sound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really done a lot for his confidence. Well done.
Yeah, I feel so much better now, Nate.
Well, you're welcome. It doesn't always ring.
We'll figure it out. It's just I don't have tons of time, so I work super late at night, and I just don't have a lot of time. So I have like little bits of time to try to figure it out, and
Mhm.
I can't always get deep into it. So
Deep in, yeah.
yeah, deep in, yeah.
Order some mics from a place that has a liberal return policy, and then just keep switching until you're holding the broken piece. You'd be surprised. Some people swear by ribbon mics, some people swear by condensers, others love dynamics.
Right.
The link I posted in the Discord chat, he encountered a lot of surprises, and he'd been in pro audio for years.
Yep. I'll have that linked in the show notes. So after the show, that anybody interested can see from the Jive Talking Cloud Filter, and then is it Drakamis? How do you say that? The YouTube channel.
I don't know. I don't think he ever says it, but I've been involved with
DRACOMIES. Okay.
Dracomies.
Yeah. And there's
I've
also
been involved
guys.
some sound systems that when they were at their peak with the band running pretty hot with popping 50 and 100 amp breakers that were that big. I'm surprised I haven't lost all my hearing.
And there's another guy out there who I used to follow just because he was fascinating to listen to. It's a guy called Mike Delgado, and he runs used to run a YouTube channel called the Booth Junkie, and he was a professional voiceover. So all of his mic conversations were all to do around with just making sure that there's none of that underlying. And I used to sit there and he used to go, "Can you hear that?" And I'm going, "Hear what?" And he's complaining about an underlying. You watch all these audio channels, and I'm just fascinated by these guys who spend like tens of thousands of dollars trying different speakers, and they've got them all set up, and they've got different people coming into their home, and I'm thinking, they all sound good. Why would you spend £2,000 on a speaker when that £350 one sounds just as good? And it's all to do with your hearing. And I was always tone deaf, so I'm quite happy with my little JVC soundbar. Sounds good to me.
So Run of the Dolphin says, Dr. Oracle Records acoustic harp in a local setup, 2 mics, 1 low range, 1 high range. We have sound deadening screens, and she edits in Ardour. So she eliminated hum in her raw recordings with a cable swap. So maybe it is a cable. You know, it's actually funny. I do recall, and I cannot remember the exact incident. I don't remember if it was cable, like as an internet related, or if it was something else. But just like a bad joint on the end of a connector. Like it may not be actually bad, but just like if the solder or something was just a little bit off, it can cause like noise on the line. So I mean,
Yep.
I think it could be any number of things, or maybe
You're right.
The fatigue. Yep.
Yeah, the XLR cables. If somebody's gone through I think it's better, and put a jumper between the case of the connector and the ground pin. That's what you end up doing, is joining the signal ground to ground in 2 different places, which causes a ground loop, which causes buzzes and hums and other things. Or when you're doing a band in a club, you can hear the cash register clicks and buzzes and the amazing things I found. I think the one book I have still on electrical interference was written by an Italian guy, and his name was Rocco. Believe it or not. I'll have to find the book. I know it's got a green cover. I'll have to look for it later.
Maybe it's an omen.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
Have you tried taking out the uplifter, Rocco?
I have tried. Yes, I've tried I used to have a hard mute switch too that I would run in between before it got to the thing. So it sits on the floor, but I had to take that out because it wasn't actually working. So yeah, I tried both without the cloud lifter and with the cloud lifter, and it just still does not.
Well,
Such a device you would add to a guitar amp to get more distortion, like the Hendrix sound that they try to appeal. Amp turned up to 11.
Well, I wish you all the best in hammering out whatever issues, although they might be imaginary, that you're having.
Are you
So,
saying I'm crazy?
not for this reason.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting to some follow up on that. I think it'd be pretty cool. So I know there's a lot of audio files in the open source world too. I think probably my favorite. I don't know if he's considered an audio file or not, but have you ever heard of the? It's a YouTube channel called TechMoan. Has anybody ever watched that?
No.
I think he's Zeb's neighbor. He's from that side of the world, and great. Yeah, you know who it is. Excellent. Great.
Yeah.
He's great to watch. He does a lot of stuff with audio and audio fidelity, and also like old or interesting audio devices and how good they are and whatnot. It's not exactly related to what you're working on, but that's the closest I get to audiophile ness, I guess. But anyway,
He has the best channel name.
he says it's not very professional, but he doesn't care. So there's that. All right.
He has a series about Laserdisc and like the different versions of media that are not like DVD or Laserdiscs and stuff like that. Like I forgot what that other format's called.
Yeah, there's one that was like a record. It was like
it's kind of like a record.
Yeah, somehow they had video information in a record, like a record player, like with a needle type media. Very interesting. Yeah, lots of neat things. Reel to reel, the wobble, and something else like in tape, like a flutter and wobble or something like that. Or I don't know what it's called exactly, but a lot of the stuff super cool. It's a great education. I'll make sure to link the TechMoan YouTube channel. Good deal. Audio's fun, and so are straw polls. Eris, so we did a straw poll. I'm gonna put here on the. I already voted, so I don't know if you wanted to go over the results there.
I did get some replies.
Okay.
I learned by doing and breaking, but I replied also with videos because I'm a visual learner. But when I say other, time shift and bad decisions, sometimes influenced by others, is how I've learned a lot of what I know now. And then somebody else said, I didn't see pain listed as a way to learn Linux, so I voted other. And as far as the results, let me refresh one last time. Number one answer for which is your favorite way to learn Linux, 22% documentation online, 19% second place videos, followed with a tie for third with AI chatbot, forums/social media groups, followed with 13% with web search and other 9%. 3% books, 3% wiki. Nobody picked documentation local, and Tuxping didn't get any votes.
So AI chatbot, I've used those. I don't know if I'd use it for learning, but maybe clarification. Like, what would you say the delineation would be between learning and? Because I use a lot of different resources. I prefer the website documentation on like in a project. Let's say I want to understand how to. My mic is lower than everybody else's. Okay, is that better? It looks the same, but what do I know?
I think it's a little bit louder.
A little bit louder now.
You sound the same to me.
Yeah, sounded fine.
Okay.
Sound fine to me.
It sounds fine to me too, but I don't really actually hear myself, so there's that. Interference. So
Rocco Fici.
Oh yeah, Rocco Fici.
Very good.
One of my few
Very
electrical engineering texts that timeless that I kept. The others I tried to donate to the local library, and they said, "Oh, we've got plenty in 621-384." I told her, "Those are older than I am, and I'm 70." She refused them.
Now, what can you do? So when it comes to like learning Linux, and me personally, I did like the documentation from like the GitHub or whatever. Like this is how you run it, like the step-by-step instructions. That typically works best for me until I run into a problem, and then I'll do some searching. But I tend to find, rather than sifting through forums, which is how I historically would to get information and then go down, whatever, that it seems like using an AI chatbot and pointing it at the problem seems to work better for me now. I don't know. Is that cheating? Am I cheating?
You're getting the merits.
How many demerits? 3 or 1?
There's going to be a lot of
many
people
incidents.
Upset. But documentation tends to work best for me in those regards. Because sometimes like the solution to the problem isn't necessarily in the documentation; it's usually like buried in the many forums. That's kind of what I found at this point. So,
well, I can read documentation and learn things, but I would much rather prefer to learn through a video of watching somebody do it. Regardless if that's on the computer or anything, I just prefer watching somebody do something and then I can pick it up.
So I think videos are fine, but I think it kind of depends on the video and how they go into it. I think they kind of break the barrier of how hard it is because they show you how it's done. I think that's probably what I would say there. But to actually do it, sometimes I need to still see like. I would almost rather have a paper manual, but maybe because I'm just old. I don't know.
You're not old. You're just old school. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
My problem with the manuals is they're never written for the generic users. They're always written for geeks. I've yet to see a manual straight off the bat that explains steps A to Z how to do something. They always go A, B, C, F, K, and I'm thinking, well, what happened to D and E? And for me, there's too many assumptions. And that's probably the single biggest reason why I hate that Arch Wiki. I start off looking at one subject, and then 44 tabs later, I forget what the first question was that I asked to get on that, rabbit hole of going down. So yeah, I'm with Rocco. I like to watch a video, but again, it's got to be a video done by somebody who doesn't skip steps. And I hate it when they'll go, right, so what you do is you click open this and you go over to there and you think, well, wait a minute, let's just take that back a few seconds and do it frame by frame and let me work out what it is you've clicked on and where it is you're going to. And as I say, a lot of people who, you need a video for dummies. Thank you, Aris. The old Linux for Dummies books were great because they pinpointed step by step how to do something. And I usually end up having to watch 10 or 12 different types of videos and then take bits of each one that I've understood. And I think somebody else said in the comments there, I learn by doing it and breaking it and then going back and doing it a different way. And does it break? No? Okay, that's a bit better. Let's try the next one. I've never been one for reading manuals. I just can't do it.
Sometimes the manuals are very out of date. They're not maintained. You look at the Arch Wiki and there's a little box at top. It says, this page may be out of date.
Well, then what's it still up there for then?
When I was at Philips, I had a secret weapon. I had my boss's secretary had like a 9th or 10th grade education, and I would give her a manual and sit her in front of $1 million electron microscope with our $60,000 peripheral analyzer, and I'd have her run something and from beginning to end, and I'd make notes of where she was fumbling and then tell her what to do and then revise the manual. But some of these material scientists, they knew everything about what they were analyzing or the cancers they were looking for, send the biopsy to the lab. That goes in an electron microscope. But anyway, they also were laypersons on computers, even though they were using microvaxes and later PCs. They didn't know how to program in Fortran to save their life.
I couldn't save my life with Fortran either.
What is
I'm glad
Fortran?
I've forgotten more than I know.
For sure.
Well, I think with the video for me, it's as Zeb said, it's the step by step. If the video is done right and it's done in succession of steps, I don't see for me any better way to learn it if all of the steps are included. Like if I have documentation, there are some times where, especially when you get into the Arch Wiki, where you're moving in and out of pages, don't remember where you're at. You know what I mean? Like, so it's not that it can't be done. It's just I find it easier for a video.
Yeah, I think maybe a video with a companion guide. Maybe that's the sweet spot right
There you
there
go.
on paper.
When I was teaching classes for Philips back in the day, flying around the world, we did a survey with the students, and we found about a third of them wanted a video of the class, a third of them wanted to be in the class, and about a third of them wanted the documentation. But that was 1998, 96.
Yeah, I think my most successful experiences come down to like if I actually have hands on with whatever it is that I'm doing. That's really where I win ultimately. And then taking good notes so that when I break it and have to go back and do it again, that I know what I'm doing this time. But then somehow I missed a
That's
step.
where I go wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The documentation piece of it.
Yeah. You go in there and you go, right, broke. Okay. What did I do? Oh, let me just make a note this time. And then you get your at the end, and then you forget to put the on. So when you come to break it again, I'm no good at making notes and stuff like that. I'd much rather have somebody else do that for me. But I haven't used paper since I first discovered a computer and the fact that you could open up Notepad and type all your notes in there. And yet I had a colleague at my last job that I was at. She used to walk around with one of those A3 pads or A4 pads and write absolutely everything down. I must do this. And it was like a to-do list. My problem with making a to-do list is I'd forget to go back and look at it and tick off the ones that I'd actually done. So I never ended up using it. But no, I don't like pen and paper. I'd much rather have it on the computer screen in front of me. Until, of course, the computer screen's broke and then you've lost all your notes. So how can you refer to how to fix it if you can't see your notes? So that's a double-edged sword.
What about PDFs versus paper?
Yeah, but then if you haven't got a computer, you can't read the PDF. So thank goodness for mobile phones is all I say. Because that's the worst thing I do now is I'll put a new version of Linux on it or get to the prompt. Well, what happened to the login? So you then pick up the good old phone and say, why does this not log into here? And then you get a load of instructions on what to do to fix it. So yeah, I couldn't have learnt all this 40 years ago when we didn't have all this technology. It would have been impossible for me.
So Linux Audio 100 says, I've done some things where I'm on my own. Wine and Yabridge to get VST to work in Linux. I found one video on the internet, but it was still 2 weeks of trial and error to get it to work. But he said, it did teach me how useful bash scripts are, LOL. Which I think that means Linux out loud. I don't know. Deploribus Rex says, my favorite way to learn Linux is drinking bites in the Linux Saloon YouTube show. Wow. Fantastic. You mostly learn from probably Jinda, I think. He's the treasure trove of all kinds of good information.
I don't think so. I always just go online, guys, and then I search for something and I hope I find it, and usually I can figure out how to get anything to work.
Well, I will say a lot of the applications that I use regularly, namely Angry IP Scanner, is something that I learned because of Jinda. So that's a great one.
that one's a good one.
So I should probably put a link to
But
that.
yeah, trying to get stuff to work sometimes can be a challenge. And unfortunately, sometimes what happens is someone gives you instructions, and usually 90% of the time they're not right anyway. I try everything in a VM before I actually try it on anything else before I do it.
Super Scanner, is that still around? It was an IP scanner app from
I don't know.
20 years. Yeah. Any form of documentation of learning is rendered useless if it has no auditing process. Somebody can write something or make a video or even teach a class, and they just have assumptions in their own head. Like, well, everybody knows this. And so you get a fragmented process of how to do something. Like you were saying, Zeb, having every little step documented. I went through that hell myself, making a external bootable drive that boots on UFI and MBR with no user interaction. And it took me 3 complete passes through that to get the documentation just right.
And the problem is as well, when you're writing documentation, you read what you think you've said. So you'll read through it and you'll still make those same mistakes. Yeah, you'll go 1, do this, 2, do that, 3, do that, 4, do that, 5, do that, 6, do that, but you never wrote 4 down. But in your head, you've gone through those steps. So yeah, getting somebody else to proofread it is imperative. And one of the things that people don't fully understand about proofreading is when you're proofreading a document, you don't actually read it. You read the word back to yourself. So if I took this as an example from that Drachem's video, you wouldn't say, "Hi there, welcome to my channel. My channel is focused on gear." You would go, "HI, hi, THERE, there, welcome." And you'd spell it out letter by letter before you said it. And in that way, you are literally forcing your brain to recognize every single letter. And that's what a good proofreader will do. They'll spell it out rather than read it out. Because when you read something, you assume, how many of you guys gone there and read something and somebody says to you, "Well, how many S's were in that sentence?" And you can ask 20 different people and you get 20 different answers.
They used to
Very
hate
true.
me at work because they used to ask me to read the instructions and do what it said. And I would say, "Are you sure you want me to read these instructions exactly and do exactly what it says?" And they said, "Yes." You don't want to know the dangers I put them. Half the time they wouldn't tell you to tighten the bolts or something stupid. You know what I mean? Or it just wouldn't
It
work.
applies as it needs.
It applies to a lot of stuff, right? I mean, I can't tell you how many tests in my youth that I got something wrong because I just didn't go slow enough. And I saw a word and I thought I knew what the word said, and you know what they say about it when you assume something. So it's one piece of advice I've made sure I tell my daughters to, like, read it again, and then when you're done with the test, come back and look through it one more time. You know, it's worth the couple minutes to do it, and you'll catch stuff, you know, a lot. So especially if you read fast like I do. Like I'm one of those people that reads 90% for for exact content, and but I'm also trying to not be too slow. Like I want to get through something, and you can glean the meaning of something, the majority of it, just from going quickly and not nitpicking every single word. And it's those things that maybe didn't sound right, and you're like, wait, that didn't make sense, and then you go back and, oh, okay, yeah, just didn't read it right. But yeah, because the alternative is you read every single word and it takes you 2 years to read a novel. So
I got backed into tech writing as a part of my tech vocation, and one of the things I found was just before you got on, Eric, was having an external auditor that's helped so much. I wish I could dig up Alma Winters from my Philips days, and I get a few guys on the MX Linux forum that help me with auditing my writing. I sometimes write long rambling sentences that need to be chopped into 3 distinct sentences, because when you run them through the translator for the other 34 languages or so that the manual goes into, it just pukes right back saying, "What say you?"
Yeah. I had to petition pretty hard to get a technical writer. We didn't have one on staff, but I knew that our documentation was suffering because of it. And it was hard to get the budget to do it, but it made a huge difference, because that's just a different breed of animal right there. Someone who does technical writing and does it well, yeah, that's a skill.
And we talked about a similar skill before when we said there's somebody who knows how to program, and then there's somebody who knows how to program the UI. It's the same thing with a manual. You've got all those clever people producing all this wonderful software, and then don't know how to translate it so the rest of the world can learn about it. So yeah, a technical writer is paramount, like a UI designer is.
Well, and if they're a true UI designer, they're going to say UX designer and UI designer, because it's user experience as much as it is user interface. So I remember making that mistake.
Yeah.
We had a great designer, and she was like, UX. Thank you. I was like, okay.
To me, that's like a little pinky out, I think. Don't you think?
It is, but it's true. I mean, it is. It's very much like, and to see the amount of effort she went through to like study whether a checkbox, was in the right spot or not. It was just like, wow. Okay, you've put a lot of thought into this, a lot more than I did. And it, once you've gone through that process, I mean, I don't know how many people go through developing user interfaces, but once you do, you start to see, and you can't unsee bad design, right?
Yep.
Yeah, my last job that I did, I worked as a software tester for a bespoke organizer, for a bespoke piece of software that had been in the market for like 25 years, and then all of a sudden, from one version to the next, they completely changed the whole of the way that the user interface looked like. So. And they said, "Oh, well, it doesn't matter. Just take the people into the classroom." No, well, if you want to give them tests to do, we have got to rewrite every single script. And they were like trying to give us, I think it was 6 weeks to get these tests ready. And in the end, we proved that this wasn't going to happen. And we hired a team of 4 additional testers just to write the test scripts. And it took them 6 months. Because you're right, Eric, when you're saying to somebody, open up this page and can you see file, edit, open, print? And they say yes. And is it in the top left-hand corner? And they say yes. So when you click on file, can you see all of these options and then all of those options? And to write those down intricately takes an unbelievably difficult amount of time. And in the end, they said, okay, well, we're not going to do that. We're going to go to user-based testing, and we're just going to get experts in, let them test, and they can tell us when it went wrong. And I said, okay, I guarantee the first hurdle you're going to get, I was trying to print this document and it didn't work. Okay, well, what steps did you do? Well, I don't know, I just did my normal thing. Well, what's your normal thing? Did you write them down? No. So our software engineers then didn't have anything concrete to work with, other than printing didn't work. You can't short circuit stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just not helpful to say something didn't work.
Right.
Yeah.
Doing support for that I do IT support. When somebody calls and says, "Hey, this isn't working," I say, "Well, can you explain the steps you took to determine that it wasn't working?"
It's all right. And you you have to go through the uncomfortable steps of like the basics, like, well, is it plugged in? Is it turned on? And you get the automatic, like, oh, what do you think? I'm an idiot? And then, sometimes you'll hear that quiet, and then it wasn't turned on. It's okay. It happens to everybody.
I had somebody I don't want to say flip out's the right word, but they were very animated about the printer issues they were having in a particular lab. So I went to the lab, I looked at the printer, and I turned it on, and then just you could just like see the face, look on their face. It was a good day.
And it proceeded to go through a ream of paper.
Yes.
But printers are a terrible thing like that. I remember the first time we opened up a brand new office in one of our little towns, and myself and the tutor went down there, and we stayed there until 11:30 at night time, and we were meant to be back at 5 o'clock the next day to make sure the shop opened, and we couldn't get this damn printer to work. So we both turned up again the next morning. We said, right, let's start it again. You've plugged it in, you've put the toner cartridge off, you've pulled the plastic. There's still a plastic strip on there. Why didn't you turn it? So we pulled the plastic strip off, put the toner back in, and voila, it printed. We never told anybody for 3 years that that's what the problem with the printer was. We just told them we fixed it.
Nice.
Well, and you weren't wrong. You did. It doesn't always have to be like a grandiose technical fix. Like, fix is a fix, you know?
It was
That's
just
it.
pulling off
Like-
the sticky tape that held the toner in and stopped it tipping out all over the place. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, and a lot of times people look at technicians and they think, oh, well, you knew what was wrong, right? And it's like, it's Windows, buddy. Nobody knows what's wrong. It's, you know, my wife couldn't print yesterday, speaking of which, and, you know, she's using a USB dongle, and I just thought to myself, well, the printer's on. Nothing wrong with the computer that I can see. Why don't I just unplug the dongle and plug it back in? That was it. You know, I don't know why it didn't work. I don't know why that fixed it, but it's just like, what was wrong? I'm like, I don't know. Well, what made you think to do that? I'm like, because it's a computer, and I don't know. I've spent half my life like either precision tapping or unplugging and plugging, or, you know, rebooting.
Have you turned it on and off again?
Oh, I know. I actually trained my office workers when I was the sysadmin of an office. That was just like step one. Like, just, you know, just reboot it. Unless you're in the middle of something that is a you know, way too difficult, to down and restart. Just reboot.
Yeah.
I had to have the very good fortune of working with a young lady who was the tutor, and she was the splitting image of Rene Russo. So not only were we working late into the night, but it was with Rene Russo. It was wonderful.
I would say it's funny how.
And you make sure you never.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Finish that.
I was just gonna say, and you make sure you never told your wife that she looked like Rene Russo.
Oh, hell, I did, yeah.
Oh,
we had that sort of relationship that we were fine with that. And
Oh,
she said,
okay.
"Oh, get out.
Yeah.
There's no way she looks like that." So the next day I went to work and I said, "Look, I'm sorry, my wife doesn't think you look like this lady." So I took a photograph, and it really was her double. It was shockingly good fun.
Full ganger.
That's great. You were Nate. You were saying, Nate. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're muted as well, mate.
I said I lost my train of thought. It wasn't important.
Oh, okay.
So
We're talking about UXs. Belina Etcher has a weirdness. It behaves a little differently than other apps. I was testing the Linux version. I thought it was broken, so I installed it on Windows, and same thing. And it's just, you assume in a UX how things are supposed to go, and I was assuming.
Well, when it comes to Belina Etcher, I always assume it's a piece of. Never mind.
I knew that was coming.
When people don't follow convention, like, I get it. You know, I understand you want to have some lenience, some leeway, and have ability to be creative, and that you may disagree with a convention in software design, but it's there for a reason. You know, I mean, people, you know, you get in, and this was the analogy that my UX lead would always say, is like, people know how to drive a car because we settled on how cars worked a long time ago. You know, a Model T, if you don't know how to drive it, you can't, because the controls are very, you know, egocentric. Like it is, or not egocentric. It's esoteric. Like it is very specific to itself. You need to know the throttles on up here and like all the different, you know. And when auto manufacturers decided to settle, like, and everything's kind of in the same place on every car, because it's a safety issue at the end of the day, like that made it accessible to everybody. So you can take a chance. Sure. I mean, you can try something different, but just understand that you're alienating people when you do it. And don't get mad at them because they don't get it. It's not their fault, you know? So if you're going to do that kind of stuff, make sure you have a really good reason to do it.
And that's one of the reasons why I don't like a lot of new cars today. They change the designs of stuff just for the sake of changing them. Now, you know, if you're used to an automatic, and I know you guys in America do it differently, but in the UK it's normally on the centre console down by your left leg. So for you guys it would be by your right leg, and you normally have park is right at the end, and then it goes into reverse, then it goes into neutral, and then 3, 2, 1 or 1, 2, 3, and you've actually got a physical gear stick that you can hold like you're used to when you're shifting. Nowadays you get into a modern car and you've got this little stubby thing that's meant to be your gear lever, and it's just like pushing a switch forward and watching the control. It just doesn't feel natural. So they changed the design because they wanted to make it look nice and compact and modern. But a gear stick is a gear stick is a gear stick.
You push a button to start it. You push my sister's car has all buttons. You push a button to start it. You push a button for drive. You're pushing a button for park. You push a button for reverse. I mean, yeah.
And to be fair, that isn't a new concept. Like, there were cars in the 50s that had push button transmissions. I mean,
Belvedere.
Yeah, so it's not like people haven't tried. It's just that you're making it unnecessarily complicated, and so to fix it, right, that becomes difficult. And Zeb, I agree with you. I've had 3 Volkswagen GTIs in a row because, 1, I'm a boring human being, and 2, it's just the perfect car for me. I like hatchbacks. I like, that car. So, I had to mark 3 or 4 to start, and then a 6, and then I looked at the 8, but they had every control surface was either hidden behind the screen, behind a menu, right, or was a capacitive touch button, so you couldn't actually feel like what you were touching. You had to kind of memorize it if you could, but that's like a safety issue to me. Like, I have to take my eyes off the road to touch something instead of just having a tactile button. So I actually, when I bought the latest one, I bought a 7.5, which was the refresh between the 7 and the 8, which was a 2020. And now I'm pretty sure I'm going to drive that car until it literally falls apart, because the newer ones are even worse. They did kind of go back a little, and there are now at least like the HVAC controls, and some of the other controls are a knob or a push button, but still, modern vehicles, like, I don't understand how people think it's a feature that a Tesla just has a screen and that's it. Like, that to me is hugely unsafe, especially when there are laws that say you can't look at your phone, but your car by design makes you look down. Like, that's silly. But
yeah, and they say you're not supposed to operate a mobile phone even if it's on a stand while you're driving. Yet all these touchscreen displays, you have to physically touch them, and it's like, and I don't know about you, but when you're going down the roads in the UK, you're trying to touch this screen, and it's like your fingers all over the place as you're bouncing up and down. You can't. Whereas in the old days, you could physically grab hold of a knob, and it wouldn't matter if your arm was doing this because you had somewhere to anchor it, and then you could turn it up or down or change the channel. So yeah, there's a lot of changes that get made for the sake of changing. But on the subject of what we was originally talking about, because somebody decided that was a better way to do it and nobody else checked them, New people coming to that car can't understand how it works. Same as new people coming to that document don't know how it works because you missed out half the reasoning behind when you wrote it down.
I remember when I was the remote control for the TV.
Correct.
And you used to have
Back
to
when
get up out of your chair. No, get up out of your chair and turn the channel.
Hey, I was the remote control. My parents would send me over to the TV to turn the channel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the first control we had was the
Action came from
clicky.
channel
Oops,
and
sorry.
volume.
Yeah, but do you remember the
I
ones
don't
that
like
made a
now.
clicking? Then that's why they called it the clicker.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do remember that. In fact, I just
the
watched
thing
an
I
episode of
don't
Happy
like
Days
now-
when they talked about the clicker. They got a clicker.
Oh, yeah,
It's really funny.
Where's the clicker? Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing I don't like now is where you get a monitor or a TV and there's no remote control included.
I've been running into that.
And
Then you got ripped off, man.
Wait a minute. Let me. My old person thinking just kicked in. What it is I don't like when they have a remote, but if the remote breaks, there's no way to control it with buttons on the back or on the bottom.
Oh, right. Yeah. Or they have like this like joystick thing that never actually works like you want it to do. It just like cycles. It doesn't.
Oh,
Yeah. Samsung is the worst. They are the absolute pits. So, yeah, for sure.
selling cat hair. I've got excess.
Well, we save it up and make another
How
cat.
much?
You can make a coat out of it.
Itchy for some people.
I discovered I'm getting old enough now that when traffic gets dicey, I have to turn down the radio so I don't have a crash up. So I can see better.
Yep. It's that whole multitasking thing. Doesn't always work.
Is it cooperative or preemptive multitask? I think I'm turning going from preemptive to co-op lately. All right. Well, I wanted to get into a feedback topic we talked about a few weeks ago. It's from Advait, ADVAIT in Karela. I don't know if that's a real place or not. I didn't look it up, but he's a Tumbleweed user, and I talked about this maybe a couple weeks ago, but he said he'd like for us to share the top 5 things you like about. Well, for me, it was Tumbleweed Desktop and the top 3 frustrations with it. So 5 up and 3 down or whatever. But I kind of want to broaden that out a little bit and say whatever operating system that you're using. So if you know, because I guess Bazite, they call it an operating system, not a distribution. What are the things like the things you like about it, and the things that kind of cause you a little bit of pain, I guess. And so I want to start with Dale because I know he's also a Tumbleweed user. You know, of course I am. I was curious to hear what your 5 up and 3 down are, or whatever mix you want to do.
The thing that I like the most about Tumbleweed is the fact that rollback is built in. Snapper rollback.
Yep.
That right there. I love that it's built in. I don't have to do anything on the first update. If something happens, you can roll back on that first update. A couple of things I don't like about Tumbleweed, which are easy to change, really and truly. The fact that on KDE Plasma, at least, they still don't have it defaulting to Wayland. And I know that's a personal subject to a lot of people, but being that it's as modern as it is and it's a rolling release, it's supposed to be cutting edge. The fact that it doesn't go to Wayland on KDE Plasma bothers me a lot. And the firewall settings on a default install I don't like because they're not on home. And I get that if you're in a business environment, it should be a little bit more strict. But in my personal opinion, most people running Tumbleweed are probably gamers and home users and sitting behind a firewall on the router. And the firewall that's built in shouldn't be that aggressive. That's what comes to mind real quick.
Yeah, I can see that. The firewall is probably a bit too paranoid right out of the gate.
It's very aggressive.
And it does make it difficult to, I think, without a good.
You can't find your own printers in your house with it. And I think that's overkill.
Yeah, there probably should be like a, kind of like not to bring up Windows, but they have like a trusted network option and a public network option. There should probably be like a trusted, where it opens up specific things, like a specific range of things, just as open, and leaves these other things closed. Or maybe something a little more curated feeling, might be good too. So I think, that's pretty good.
I think they should default it to the home setting. That way you have a firewall running, but it's not quite as aggressive.
Yeah. I can see that. Or a home in an away setting, maybe. It'd be nice to have like a toggle right there.
Yeah.
Like a network manager or whatever.
That's simple, yeah.
No. I can see that. I know, Eric, I know that you've been going through and talking, like exploring different distributions, operating systems, whatever. And so what would you, I don't know what you're using right now, but I'm curious to know, like, kind of where you're maybe settling and maybe your ups and downs of each, or of a few of them.
So I've sort of gone all over the place, literally, like just thrown away all my preconceived notions and just tried sort of everything. The big one that I think you'll be interested in is that I now am enjoying Plasma more than I had been GNOME, which is a massive change for me. First, it was mainly because I noticed the performance, particularly on my XPS, on GNOME, and I don't know if this is because of like video acceleration or like what's happening, but it seems like I always have a certain amount of like overhead where my fans are just right on the edge. So if I do anything process intensive, it will, like, the machine just acts like it's being taxed heavily, right? And it just started to annoy me. And what I noticed was that I had put Plasma something. I don't even know what the base was, what the distro was, but I just noticed that Plasma was running really well on my little 2-in-1 convertible, the Latitude. And so I thought, oh, well, that's interesting. And the other thing I noticed is that 6.6, the new on-screen keyboard, is really great. So that, combined with when you take the keyboard off and use it as a tablet, the window controls automatically grow in size and make it easier to grab the window and move it around with your finger, but then also to control it, with minimizing, maximizing, that sort of thing. So that and the better keyboard, now it's making it a pretty decent touch screen UI and experience. Because I think the predominant thinking is that GNOME is just the better choice for touchscreen because it's just built that way. It's bigger, there's a lot more padding and space on the widgets and stuff, and kind of like just functions like it's already in sort of a quasi touch, experience. So I had been, again, throwing away the preconceived notions. I had thought, well, let me just try Plasma on this device, and hadn't been pleased prior to 6.6, but now am pleased with that change of the old on-screen keyboard was pretty terrible in Plasma. I mean, I don't know if anyone's used it. The older, yeah, exactly. I know what you meant. It was pretty terrible. And the new one is actually not only functionally better, but it triggers better. Like, it actually will, like, you hit a input, field, and it pops up, and it, moves the windows. It does everything how you would expect it to do it, basically.
Right, like on a phone, on a modern touchscreen phone or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, on a modern touch device, it works that way. So yeah, kudos to them for finally putting some emphasis on that. And then from the distro standpoint, I've normally been using, I've switched from GNOME to Plasma, which was a huge, known for me, like a known good, like, oh, I'm just going to use GNOME, right? And to Plasma. And now I've been using like Ubuntu based distros for such a long time. And it was just sort of a given. Tried Arch, did not like CachyOS because it was on Arch. I did try Tumbleweed and I just didn't get along with it. I had some issues with my hardware that was just bothersome, basically. And then I thought, okay, I normally don't like Fedora, but I'm just going to try it. And so now I'm running Fedora, the Plasma, Fedora 44 Plasma spin, I guess that's what they call it. And yeah, I'm very happy with it. It's clean. It runs very well. They don't make a lot of assumptions for you. I'm actually enjoying having the flexibility of all the settings in Plasma, especially coming back to it after not having used it for a number of years, because I'm finding like I want to be able to change little things. And, the way that, that it does the snapping when you get close to the edge of the screen, I like to leave just a few pixels, especially because I use a dark theme. I like to leave a few pixels so that I can see the color around the window, and it kind of just, it's like an anchoring point for me to just visually be able to tell windows apart. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to adjust it so that it wasn't so grabby. You know what I mean? Like, because default, it's 10 pixels is the snapping distance.
Right.
For window behavior. And so I set it to 5 so that it's less grabby. I mean, grabby is not a technical term, but it's less likely to snap. So that was a very simple change. And I could imagine if it was something I needed to change in GNOME, it would have been either, deconf config or tweaks or some other, thing like that. And yeah, so it's been about 2 weeks on the 2-in-1, the Latitude, and it's only been about 2 days on my XPS that I switched over. So yeah, I still have a Mint 21.3 device, my desktop, and then the XPS has Fedora 44 Plasma, and so does my Latitude. So there you go. Just complete upheaval.
Eric, if 100%. I could ask you, like, that's a big jump from GNOME to KDE. So are you enjoying the flip side of it? Are you struggling with trying to make it look like GNOME? Like that's a big jump to go from GNOME or KDE.
So the last time I used Plasma, I actually was doing this thing where I had a docky thing at the bottom, right, just for my icons, and then I had a bar at the top. And I did the global, I kind of made it like Mac, right? I had the global menu in the top bar, and then had taken the tray out and was just using Docky. So yeah, it was more, I wasn't using Plasma default. I was using it more like a Mac style UI. And it frequently broke, unfortunately, because I don't know, I think I was just doing weird things to it and it didn't like it. But so now I'm just using it. So the one thing I did turn off, I don't like the floating bar. I think that's silly. Like, it is what it is. You either do or you don't like it. But when it comes to UI conventions, again, like, why? Why is it floating? You know what I mean? Like, it's just taking up extra room for no reason. I know that it shrinks down and all that stuff, but it's just like, it's an annoyance. So I turned that off, sized it down a little bit so that it's not so tall. And then otherwise, no, it's... one thing I always change that I never understand is in the default menu, there's a setting to change the section by just hovering over it rather than needing to click. Because the click is onerous to me. It's like if I'm already hovering over it with my mouse, like just switch, Yeah. I don't need that extra click. So that's something that I change. Because GNOME doesn't really have a menu per se, it just has the applications overview. I kind of like this. I like the structure, but then again, I've been using Cinnamon for a long time too, so it's not like it's wholly unfamiliar. It's just that it's like it's a change, and I think maybe some of it too is the back to UI conventions. It's just sort of that muscle memory of the sort of Windows or Redmond style interface, with the menu at the bottom left, and everything's in one bar. I really like Plasma's tray. GNOME, there's a hack that everybody uses for the tray. But it's just that, it's a hack, and doesn't look very good. It doesn't work very good in comparison to Plasma. The notifications have gotten a lot better. They used to be just dead. And what I mean by that is you'd get a notification, but you couldn't act on it. It was just there, and you're like, oh, great, I had a new email. Could you let me click it and go to the email? That's my expectation out of a notification. And now, in most cases it does do that. So
are you using Thunderbird or
it's
some
like
other email client?
No, it's a browser, so it's in the browser.
Oh,
but
okay.
if something's able to pass a notification, where it's coming from. Mm-hmm. And I understand that if there's no mechanism to load that thing, it doesn't give you a means to an API or some way to that hook that you'd need. Okay, great. Then I understand that at least you're getting a notification. But anything, almost everything gives you a way to just click through to it. So, and the fact that Plasma didn't do that for such a long time was just annoying to me. It was just extra work. So, but between that, having all the things I had to add as an extension in GNOME they're just there in Plasma, right? The weather thing, the clipboard manager, the microphone and, media control, all of that stuff is just there. And then of course, whenever you have an application, which GNOME can pretend like applications don't need a tray, but they do, because they expected
They
something
do.
they just do. And it all, I'm looking at it and everything's spaced right, and it all looks right, and it all is, cohesive and fits together. And so, yeah, I mean, I had to remap a bunch of keys because my muscle memory for switching screens is instead of meta key, alt, and arrows, it's Control, Alt, and arrows. I still do not understand why Plasma only has one virtual desktop by default. That's such an amazing functionality in Linux that you have to add something extra in Windows to get to, right? And I think Mac too, right? Or no, Mac has virtual desktops. I don't even know. But anyway, the fact that it's still only one by default is just baffling to me. Why not at least two? What the hell? Put a second one there. Maybe someone will discover it.
It might be a Fedora thing. I think
everyone I've installed, Nate.
Oh, really?
It's the same way in Catchy OS.
Yep.
And I actually prefer it that way because I always disable them all.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
me too.
there you go. So, I mean, I'm one of the weirdest. I have to have all four of them, and I even do 2 rows because I want to be able to go up, down. I do basically a square.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
that's how I do it.
So I'm just, I that's how I use a computer, is virtual desktops, which is one of the reasons that, now I can use Windows because Power Tools gives you that ability to do that. But that was one of the things that used to drive me crazy about Windows, was that it didn't have that. And I had to lump everything together on one screen with all of because I've just never really had multiple monitors. I mean, even at work, I had 2 at most. So I know a lot of people don't use virtual desktops because they have all these monitors. And I get it. It's the same concept, obviously, just virtualized, right? Hence the name. But so I do use screens, multiple screens. It's just the same screen, if that makes sense. So, but yeah, I mean, otherwise, really, the performance was really the biggest thing. Plasma is just lighter. It's lighter. It's using less resources. It feels faster. And the proof for me is that the hardware itself just is not being taxed like it is under GNOME. So So yeah, complete like 180 shift, not only on desktop environment, but on distro as well. And excuse me, I didn't even really need, like, I didn't find a huge need for extra stuff. Like, there was always an issue with Fedora where I felt like I had to have extra repositories because the default stack didn't have a lot of stuff included. And now I don't have that same sense. Like, I just feel like I was able to put everything that I normally use on here, and it's either been a native package, an RPM, or a Flatpak. Now, I'm a little confused why they feel the need to have their own version of Flatpaks as well as FlatHub. And I've done some reading, and I understand that their versions of Flatpaks are based on RPMs, and that's some advantage over in terms of the way that the libraries work, the shared libraries. And I don't know enough about it to have a definitive opinion, but it's a little confusing to have both. Like, because if I search for Discord,
hairs over Flatpaks.
Well, but it's so strange because you search for something in Discord, which Discord is still just the worst app. But anyway,
here and use it.
So like volume control, the PAVU auto control, like pulse audio volume control, I load that in Discord, Discover, and it's got Fedora Linux, FlatHub, Fedora Flatpaks. 3 different places to choose from, and I flipped through them. They're all, from what I can tell, the same version, except FlatHub and Fedora Linux, so the native package, show me a version, and Fedora Flatpaks just says like up to date or something, or latest. I'm like, well, that's not very helpful. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure what their strategy is, other than maybe not trusting, okay, so they see Flatpaks as being an integral component for their stack, for their desktop environments, for their distro, and they don't trust FlatHub entirely to be like the place to house that. So they want to have their own version of that. And it's fine. And Flatpaks were built with the idea that there could be different repositories. But in practice, we've seen that FlatHub is sort of the default catch-all repository, right? There isn't a competitor to FlatHub necessarily.
Right.
And I don't think anyone's going to just use Fedora Flatpaks if they're not using Fedora. So, yeah.
That's interesting.
And I'm sorry to the Discover developers, but man, you want to talk about spending good money after bad. They have been kicking this can down the road for 15 years now? And it's still, it's like that ugly baby that only the mother loves, man, because yikes.
I use it all the time.
I know, Nate, you're that guy. You're that one guy that likes it.
I think I'm the one that's using it, and they're just doing updates for me.
No, I'm using it. To be fair, I'm using it, and so. But here's the annoyance to me: it does not work properly, not all the time. So I went to internet. So I like the different categorization, right? So I went to internet, and then web browsers, blank, nothing there. I'm like, I know they're there. I've seen it before. Close it, come back in. They're not there. Okay, well, I know they're there somewhere, and then I searched for Chromium. Chromium comes up. Go back there, still not there. So I mean, it still does not work properly. Like, there's still weird, idiosyncratic bugs that just they have not been able to get rid of. So.
When you go to install it, it doesn't show up in your menu, or it doesn't. What's it not doing?
No, so when I browse, so there's so much software, right? And I want to be able to see what web browsers they have, right?
Mhm.
And I know I can search for it by name. That's not the problem. The problem is I like to be able. The whole point of a graphical software store or software, UI is that I can look at it and browse it, and and that's basically shop for apps, right?
Right.
If I knew what I wanted to type in, I would just install it at the command line. Like, what's the utility of a UI at that point, right? So, unless I just would rather use a mouse, I guess. So if I go in and take the time to click through and say, all right, there's an internet section, and then there's chat, file sharing, mail, and web browsers, and I click on web browsers. Now, if I click on it right now, it's populated. Sorted by popularity, Zen is first, Florp, LibreWolf, Opera GX. So it's got all of the choices there. But for some reason, it just wasn't working. So why? No idea. Is now, though.
A little
And I
buggy.
guess the other thing and I don't know if this is a Fedora thing or a Discover thing, but if I do updates through Discover, it wants me to reboot and do like reboots as like a Windows update.
That's a Fedora thing.
That's a Fedora thing. Yeah.
It's a good thing. It's the right way to do things. You can do things
Yeah,
wrong if you
yeah.
want, but just know that you're wrong.
Adam.
So
I don't mind being wrong if it's the way I want to do it.
I mean, that's fine. That doesn't change the fact that you're wrong.
Was it? I liked how Zipper did it, where Zipper would tell you if you were using anything that had been updated, and that you should restart it. So I was like, oh, that's pretty smart. And you can actually do that with apt, I think, as well, but it doesn't do it like Zipper does it automatically. You finish updating in Zipper, and it just literally calls it out and says, hey, you're using these things, and you should restart them. And I will come back to you and say that you do not need to reboot your entire system after an update if it didn't touch a component that can't be reloaded without a reboot. So
I believe Fedora doesn't require you to reboot if that's the case.
it does. It does.
It asks you, even if you
Because if I
update
go into
just the
updates,
browser or whatever.
if I go into updates right now, it says there's a system upgrade. There's one package. If I say update all,
What is the
it
package?
will say updates will be installed after the system is restarted.
What was the package?
When you
Let me see if I can get back to it.
when you upgrade Fedora graphically, it reboots every time. When you update it by terminal,
Yeah, you can do it
it's
through
up to
DNF.
you.
and
It does not.
Yeah, and so that's the inconsistency is I know I can do it through DNF, and I do. That's how I normally update packages, but if I do it through, and that's why I wasn't sure if it was a Fedora or a Discover thing, because it wants to
Yeah, that's a Fedora
restart
thing.
to do it. So
I still think it's the right way to do things because, there's no confusion as to whether or not the update is
because
gonna
you can't
screw
admit
things
when
up.
you're wrong.
no,
I mean, the
I'm
user won't
teasing you.
admit they're wrong.
I'm
last-
teasing you.
the last thing I want to do is agree with Adam on anything, but I do want to say
Well, I agree with Adam on everything. Are you kidding me?
Adam's usually right for most
Oh,
things.
yes, 99% of the time.
But I do have to admit, like I've on my production system that I use for just about everything, I once ran a number of days of updates and I didn't actually reboot, and I realized it was like after the third day of doing updates and not rebooting that I needed to reboot because something started acting squirrely. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, I haven't rebooted, and
Yep.
so,
And it happens to me too. No, I'm not disagreeing that it is probably the sanest way to run an update is to reboot the system and start from a known good state. Like, I get that. But a lot of times, if that's my own habit of I can't leave it alone. If I see there's updates, it's like I'm forced to update, must update. I should just leave it alone.
When I run Catchy Update, there are times where it'll pop up the restart or reboot notification.
Anything with the kernel
and then there's other
modules,
times where it doesn't. So I'm not sure what makes it do one or the other.
That's what it is. It's the kernel itself.
There'll be a list of packages that would prompt that. It wouldn't just be the kernel.
I thought it was the
just probably
best
some
way
system
every
D
time
stuff
for
and
everything.
whatnot,
It's how you solve
anything
most
that's probably
problems in IT.
rely.
That's how you solve most of your problems with IT issues. Just reboot.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah. Unfortunately.
It is just different enough though that it feels weird, right? To for your system to say, well, it'll reboot after you do your update, or it'll update when it reboots, and you're like, icky. But I get it. I do.
Yeah, because the frustrating thing there is you reboot, it does the updates. It says, "Oh, updates has finished. You now need to reboot."
Yeah. It is my fault. If I would just not update until it was like I'm in a position, because that's normally what happens is I use it for long enough that now I've got 50 windows open and like going through closing down and excuse me, although Plasma doesn't necessarily have to, but it will restore your session in terms of like the running applications and stuff, which is pretty cool.
Adam, did you catch that? What he said? He said it was my fault. He said it was my fault.
Oh, it happens.
He did admit that.
It's okay.
Anyway, so yes, brave new day.
I've personally ran into a lot of problems where like like, oh, it's just an app update, it's no big deal, or like it's just some library somewhere, but then like my application's acting weird and crashing and doing something weird, and it's because it's still working with older versions, but then it tries to load newer versions from the disk, and you just get weirdness when it comes with that. And that's why I just reboot.
Well, not to cut you off, but I'm interested in hearing some other ups and downs from, let's say, like full scale for me. What do you run, and what do you think? What are some things you like and then don't like about it?
Well, I'm one of those weird guys that got 3 PCs here, and each one's doing different. The one I'm on right now is
I think that's normal.
XFCE, and the one to my left is running KDE, and the one to my right is running Fluxbox. So,
All MX though.
Yeah, all MX. But in VirtualBox, I have Mint running and other OSs just to keep things interesting. But yeah, reboot and reboot after updates. That's a Windows thing. But for Linux, you got to be tolerable of consistent inconsistencies. Otherwise, it'll drive you crazy. But yeah, I don't know. I've used so many things like from like IBM mainframes, VAX clusters, microVAXs, even some older Macs back in the day where the guys that made the pill bottle labels, they couldn't use anything but Macs with Photoshop. So we kept them in their own little rooms so they wouldn't pollute the rest of the user environment. But that was another thing entirely. But the wars between the Novell guys and the VAX guys on uptime, the Novell guys were pissed off that their servers only had one power supply. So that when the service contract came and they had to replace the power supply, they lost their half of your uptime. I don't know. I think them things have gotten better over the years. I started out with the Slackware 2 floppy command line, and things just got better slowly over time.
Yeah, what would you say is like something that maybe annoys you? Like what's something that, or maybe you don't want to say because Dolphin's in the chat.
Q2 libraries, version 5, version 6, and they keep moving the goalpost, which makes a whole bunch of apps that people want on 2-year-old or 3-year-old Linux installs that they can't have because Qt 6.6 is needed versus 6.4 or some other version. You know, I want to smash the fingers of the developers that do that don't make it reflectively compatible, where it just gracefully fails or does not offer an option or something. It just says flat out, not running, you don't have the up-to-date Qt.
What's it Flatpak's for?
Yeah, I've found that, and I just installed Snaps now too. MX just enabled Snap with the recent update.
So what are you, Hip Dad? What are you running right now?
I'm running CachyOS.
And what are some things you like and maybe don't like about it?
Well, I'm running CachyOS with KDE Plasma and I'm similar to Eric on my endeavors where, well, I liked GNOME in the beginning, but then when Unity came out back in the day, I totally lost any kind of desire whatsoever to use GNOME ever again. But when I came back to the community, when I was able to finally play World of Warcraft again in using crossover, um, I came in and I was using Kubuntu, and it was okay, but then it took a big dump. And with any flavor of Ubuntu, you never did fix the problem. All you did was wipe it out and start over. So it was suggested to me by a couple friends, Arch Penguin and Stefan. They had a challenge on the Linux Cast with Matt Weber and his YouTube show, and it was a 6 months challenge to stay on one distro, and so they suggested Arco Linux at the time, and I loved it until it started getting so bloated, and that's when he quit. Like not a month and a half later, and I tried Budgie. I liked Budgie. I would love to use Budgie, but it doesn't recognize 5.1 surround in the sound system. KDE Plasma, it has the best sound interface in my opinion. But with Cashy, I like the fact that one of the things it does do with the updates is if it has a System D restart needed, it gives you the option to restart everything in System D or just the specific program. What I don't like about the update is it keeps telling me that I have orphan packages that are no longer needed, but yet all the ones that are listed I need. And it won't let me disable that feature, so I don't like that. I would say overall, I've, as far as generality, Arch has been the one distribution that I very rarely feel like I have to do a complete clean install. And usually when I do, it's because I've put too much junk into the distro, trying different programs and stuff, and it just junks up the system. I decide to restart. But overall, Arch has taught me more than any other distro has. That's all I've got.
One of the things I would recommend if you are doing like playing with software is this is also one of those Jinda things. Just if you get DistroBox with Box Buddy and then you play around with it in there, that kind of it keeps kind of the cruft away from your main system and makes it so
right.
It makes playing a lot less painful, like long term. So, what are you, Jinda?
Flatpaks for that.
Oh, yeah, Flatpak is good for that too. What are some things you like and don't like about your distro of choice?
You know, I don't really have many complaints. I mean, because as an operating system, we already know we're going to have problems with it. I mean, it's expected. I mean, I've been running MX Linux for years, and it always ran good in VirtualBox. It had MX tools to help me along to be able to make sure I could fix this silly little things that I thought were a pain. And, you know, to tell you the honest truth, I mean, I can knock on wood, this desk is wood. But it usually doesn't give me too many problems. But of course it does. Every operating system will. Unless you guys have one that doesn't, which I wouldn't believe you if you told me that.
Doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. I mean, they're all going to give you problems. There's always going to be something you don't like, but this one ran the best out of the box. Everything I installed on it, you know, the 5 things that I wanted to run right away, I installed all of them. They all worked. And a lot of other Linux distros failed at that.
Oh. Gotcha.
Yep.
Groovy. What about you, Rocco? What is it? Like you're running CachyOS right now. What are maybe some things you like and some things maybe you don't like?
Well, I mean, look, CachyOS has not given me any problems since I've installed it. Since trying to get back into things, I've installed quite a few distributions, and little by little, you find okay, there's not big problems, but like HipDad said with the one where 5.1 doesn't work or whatever, there's little problems specific to you. There's nothing that's groundbreaking that there's something wrong with it. But I started out on KDE, and then for a couple of years I switched to GNOME, and then I'm back to KDE. I love KDE. I love GNOME. I just don't know which one I want to stick with. That's my problem.
You don't have to choose. Actually,
as far as
you can go back. And forth
I mean, yeah. Well, you kind of have to choose. You can have both. You can have multiple machines, but you usually don't have more than one main machine. So it's like, because like that's your main one that you're going to use for your main stuff. So as far as things that I like, I mean, I like that Cashy hasn't given me really any problems being an Arch distribution, and that's one thing I can say about it. It's been the most stable one that I've tried so far without any problems. But that also could be due to it being Plasma, and usually I don't have too many serious problems with Plasma. Just little. The problems that I've had with Plasma in the past have been those little tiny problems that pile up and pile up and pile up, and then you get frustrated and you just switch. But as far as like everything works on it. I think the only thing that I don't like about Cashy is Shelly. I don't really care for that as a software center, I guess you could say, installer. And that's just personal preference. It's not because it doesn't work. But yeah, like I said, I got a couple distributions on that other machine, and I don't have major problems with them, but it's just specific to me or specific to this machine too, because I'm only running it on, the one, actually a test machine now, which used to be the main machine. So it's specific to my hardware or whatever. Because I'll tell you what, when I installed even Zorin OS and I'm using my TV as a monitor, like just the fact that I couldn't get high DPI right from the installer is a big problem for me, because trying to install an operating system with things that look like this is just too yeah.
Well, it's cool though. I've not been able to keep an Arch install running effectively for an extended period of time, but it's not an Arch issue. It's actually a me issue. I think my last go at Garuda, that one probably lasted the longest, but it fell apart on me a little bit after a while. So yeah, but if it works for you, I mean that's really the point, isn't it?
It's working at the moment for me.
Yeah, if you don't like Shelly, you can use the CachyOS software installer. It's a little more closely resembles the MX Linux installer.
Okay.
That's available on the welcome screen.
CachyOS package installer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it's in the menu too.
Yeah, it's in the menu too, and it's also down in, I believe, System or Utilities, that section.
I think it's just a script that runs. Like it'll open a. On GNOME it was in the top bar, like as an extension. And
they have a CachyOS updater, okay, and you can right click it and go to the installer. But they also have a looks like a turtle shell.
Yep.
That that you can just go directly to the installer.
Gotcha.
So what do you, Zeb? What is what are you using, and what are the ups and downs?
Well, I tend not to have ups and downs, because the minute an OS gives me a down, I go next. So I never really have a chance to
Definition of a hopper.
to work out. But at the moment, if I've got an OS that I just need to go to because I know it will work, and because it's running the interface that I want, then it's MX all day long. I know that I could go to any of my friends' machines tomorrow, take an MX disk with me and install it, and it will work. Where it doesn't work, I've been using MX long enough now and I've been using the X11 interface long enough now that I can just get it to work very, very quickly, because I've still got all of the old notes that Dolphin Oracle used to send me when he got fed up answering my posts on the forums. It would be like, send me a text with this in it, and in the old Telegram group it sent me a DM. So I've got all of those saved, so I'm okay there. But I've got, I guess, 3 OSs now that are in that they just seem to work. So my first one is MX Linux, my second one is CachyOS, and my third one, which I never thought I'd ever be on an immutable OS, is Bazite. So I know that I can install any one of those 3 OSs, and with the machinery that I've got and the workflow that I have, they work for me. So I'm happy at the moment. And I've got a 4th space that I use for testing stuff out, like I tested out the Quark OS. And then I made a mistake on another OS and I had to wipe out every single drive, so I lost that configuration. Which is really annoying, because I had a really wonderful mic set up on there and I forgot to copy what easy effects I'd use to get it. So yeah, I'm easy. I'm happy with MX, CachyOS, and Bazite, and then I'll just play with the other space that I've got on the discs for anything else that comes along.
Yeah, I think the neat thing is, well, from your perspective anyway, like your way of doing things is, if something irritates you enough, I don't know what I don't know what that limit is, like how much irritation before you make the jump, but it kind of keeps things fresh, you know?
Mm-hmm. And I've got the 3 types. I've got a Debian, I've got an Arch, and I've got a Fedora immutable. So I've got the best of all worlds, and I can see what each world is doing with their own OSs, and I can keep up to date with what's happening. And as I say, just the one experiment. But normally what will make me go next 9 times out of 10 is you burn the DVD, you checksum it, you put it in your machine, you boot up the machine, nothing. Blank screen. So you go, okay, let's boot it up again, let's edit it, let's go to no mode set, nothing. This is 2026. How can you produce an ISO that won't boot up on a machine just because it's got an MX, just because it's got an NVIDIA graphics card in there? It seems crazy to me. So that's what gets the biggest next. And then once I've got it installed, if I set up my monitors the way I want them to be and I save it and I reboot the machine and it's back to having them all in the wrong places again, that's another thing I'll give that 2 or 3 goes and then it's out the window, because I can't be setting up my monitors every time I reboot the machine. And predominantly I'm on, apart from MX, which I'm on XFCE, the other 2 are on KDE, because I love the fact that there's a setting in KDE called barrier, and I've yet to find, apart from GameScope, and GameScope is such a pain in the neck to get working with my games that I play. But with Barrier, if I set Barrier to 1000, my mouse doesn't leave the game when I'm playing, because I've physically got to move my mouse 3 inches past the edge of the monitor before the mouse will go pop and go onto the other screen. When I finish playing my game, I just go back into Barrier and set it back to 10. So for me, it's a perfect keep your mouse in the gaming window. So for me, KDE does that brilliantly.
That's actually a really good idea.
there's a flat pack of input leaf that's replaced barrier. Barrier's about 2 years out of it right now.
It works. So
I
what
know.
was it? What's the new one called?
I use it on my MX-23 machines, but it doesn't run on 25.
Yeah, but what's it called?
Input leap. It's a flat pack.
Input leap. And do you just run it and install it and it works? Or do you have to fiddle about with it?
You just have to be careful of the path for the flat pack you have, so it can find the config file. But after that, that's a one-off setting and it's done.
Yeah, and then that's the one-off setting that I will go, no, because it means I've got to read a manual, understand what the hell the developer was talking about, and they never write it in English, so it's not going to happen. With Barrier, it's simply open up KDE settings, change it to 1000, click apply, and now my mouse is very difficult to leave the window that I'm on. And when I'm finished, I go back into Barrier, turn it back to 1. So that initial making sure the path is right. As soon as you said the word path, I went, gone.
You're talking about two different things. Barrier, Zeb's talking about the window, the edges of the window, the screen, so you don't go into the next screen like on the same system. You're thinking of Barrier, the virtual KVM system. That's
what he's talking about. That's
what
what he's talking about.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about in KDE, when you move your mouse from one monitor to the next, there's a very slight hesitation before it'll jump over to the next screen, yeah? If you set that barrier to 1000, you literally have to move your mouse about 3 inches before it will say, okay, you've moved your mouse enough now, and it will go on to the next monitor.
Yeah.
So that's what keeps my mouse in the gaming window.
So I turn mine way down because I don't like that stickiness. It irritates me.
Yeah, mine's on 1 when I'm not using it, but for gaming, if your game doesn't have a control, if your game doesn't have a control that keeps it in the window, it's fantastic to have this huge piece of like fly paper at the edge of your screen where your mouse can't move.
Right. Nope, I get it. That's cool. Oh, cool. Well, thank you for that. Adam, are you still using computers?
No. I'm talking to you from the high fidelity tin can that I ordered after watching 3 Ninjas.
Fantastic.
No, I'm actually on Fedora 44 Plasma. And I do reboot after updates.
Man,
that's because that's the right.
It tells me to, so I just do what it says. I don't know. It's fine. It's an operating system.
So, real quick, so Joe of Tux Power PC fame, he's talking about this. I think Zeb's talking about this as well. It's called Screen Edges in Plasma. That's where you set your stuff. In case those that don't know.
I usually just use GameScope for those games, but I completely agree that GameScope's a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Less so on AMD, but like still, it's kind of annoying.
I don't even know what the GameScope is.
Annoyance.
It's like a kaleidoscope, but fun.
Okay. I think kaleidoscopes are pretty fun though.
Even more fun.
Even funner.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what's something that you maybe don't like so much about Fedora or Fedora Plasma, whatever it is you're running, whatever flavor of
What don't I like about it? It didn't come with double prize money.
Okay, that's a good reason.
That was kind of annoying.
Yeah.
I felt like it should have paid me, but it didn't. I don't know, man. It's literally just an OS. I barely interact with the OS parts. I just interact with apps on top of it. That's really what it is.
That's actually a pretty beautiful thing, really.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't feel the need to like tinker with that stuff. I mean, I do work on top of it, do my AI stuff on top of it, but do games. browsing, listening to music. I don't know. There's just I just use it. I don't know. I don't know what to say. There's nothing that really annoys me.
Yeah, it's fantastic. That's actually a ringing endorsement right there.
But I
Could it be considered a failing
could-
if you use something and you have to adjust it? You know what I mean? Like, is that a good or a bad thing to? I guess having the ability to do it is good, but the bad would be like needing to.
I think it's like
So
clothing,
the fact that you
right?
just use something, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, if you buy like cheap clothing, right, and it doesn't quite fit, then you can have it tailored to fit you and it's a better fit. But if it's cheap clothing, you can't really adjust it all that much. But if you buy quality stuff, then you can, right? So if you have a distro that's more flexible to be tailored to you, then it's a better
Yeah.
experience overall, even if you had to move things around a little bit. But if you're using a distro that's inflexible and can't be tailored to you, now you have a problem, right? I think that's what people butt heads against is when you end up with a very opinionated distro that makes it difficult to fit you. If that opinion isn't one you share, then it can be difficult to work with, right?
I think that's what I'm running up against with the immutable systems, the atomic systems.
Right.
You inherently have to make decisions, right? You have to choose what's going to be on that image, and it's not going to fit everybody. So,
Immutable systems are for those people that find Linux for Dummy and advanced text.
Wow. Thanks for insulting my wife. Appreciate that.
Think nothing of it, sir.
A free service.
I like it.
No, the immutables are great for people who are just fine with just using them the way they are. Again, it goes right back to that opinionated thing. If their opinion and the way they built it does just fine, then it's just fine. My wife uses Bazite all the time. She's using it right now, and it's perfectly fine for her. And Zeb mentioned the same thing. I think immutables are just another way of delivering software at the end of the day. And some people like Flatpak snaps, apps, whatever. It's all good. Everybody just do what they do. Don't think it makes them any more advanced or less advanced.
I think when userland and the underlying system are less black and white, that'll make it, easier to deal with. For me, because Flatpak is only a half measure, and so is like DistroBox and stuff like that. So,
but the two half
We're getting
measures
there.
combined are like Captain Planet. No,
Nate, you are a unique individual, and I love you for it.
I agree.
Yeah. No, I get that, and I think I like the. I think Adam's very correct when it comes to like the immutable. If it fits your opinion, it's great. It does what it needs to do. But if it doesn't fit your opinion, then it's not great, and then you have to work at it. A little harder.
Well, imagine if you didn't like an iPhone or Android. I mean,
I'm there.
You'd be pretty lost, wouldn't you? I mean, what would you do? Just have to settle, right?
Yeah, or you just kind of walk away
You'd
from
be a
them.
flip phone guy.
Yeah, that too.
Windows Phone.
Windows Phone. That's
Not
definitely
anymore.
an option, I guess. BlackBerry with the little the pre-touch ones, so the one with the ball in it. That'd be good. Yeah.
I got a Palm Pod around here somewhere. I don't know if it works, but it's a thing.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
What was the thing? I just saw this thing where it was like all of the different UIs throughout time. Like there's like an archive of it or something.
Yes.
And that was the first one I went to look at was Palm because I had a Palm Pilot and I loved it back in the day.
Okay. Those were good.
I had the one that looked like a calculator, like it just slid out of the case and had the little stylus. Yeah, good stuff.
Like a graphic calculator. That's good times.
That's what it looked like, basically. It just had that plastic sleeve,
Could you spin it around and then put it back on? So you hang onto the sleeve then too?
Yes. Yeah, you could put it on the backwards and then it would stay That way it would you wouldn't lose it, but that was how you kept it from the screen from getting marred.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember those Librem phones that were like
Nope, never seen
hyped?
That was 10 years ago.
Yeah, neither did I.
Why didn't you see one?
I don't know. Vaporware. Eris, curious to know, so you're running Fedora, right? Fedora with KDE Plasma?
Yeah.
And then what are some things you like and don't like about it? Some ups and downs?
The software is pretty recent, I guess. Not as much as Arch maybe at times, but I probably don't like that. Sometimes the codecs lag behind, so you update your software, but then it says such and such software couldn't be updated. That's because it's not part of the main repos and third-party repos, and sometimes they lag behind updating. So that's annoying, I guess. And also, you have to add it yourself. That's not built in. It's not like Ubuntu where there's like a checkbox or like a package you just install.
Yeah, I can see that. That's a good one, actually.
They did add the enable third-party repos. It's just sort of like a half measure, but it's still it's at least something.
At least a measure.
Well, because before, if you didn't know about RPM Fusion and you just installed Fedora, you'd be like, drivers, codecs, maybe.
Yeah, it's true. You have to look it up, do a search. And that was actually even just a few years ago too.
Yeah, no, that was very recent. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it still exists. I mean, it's not like they've fixed it necessarily, but the enable third-party repos is at least a step in that direction.
Yeah. Agreed. What about you, Mr. Chilson? What's you're using an Ubuntu? I know that. What are some things?
Yeah, I use it. I'm kind of like Adam. I don't really look at it that way, because the OS to me is a means to an end. It's just part of the tool. I don't really. I mean, I run Ubuntu Budgie. I like it because I know that desktop. I run Ubuntu because of the stability. After that, I'm more concerned with my applications than I am with the OS. That's kind of where I stand.
Gotcha. That's cool.
I'm a pretty simple creature when it comes to that.
I can see that. Kind of an old school, come back from the DOS days. In fact, you probably use CPM.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
I could tell.
But no, I mean, I just, the OS doesn't, that's not why I'm using Linux. The reason I'm using Linux is because Linux has the tools that I need. Oh, so the OS is just a means to an end, to me.
Makes sense.
So that's kind of how I look at it.
Gotcha. Well, thank you. So War Thunder, you popped in here, and so now you have to give your ups and downs of whatever it is you're running. Well, you don't have to, I guess. I mean, you can do whatever you want.
Or not, yeah. I love it.
Or maybe he's going to stay muted and say no. Dig his heels in the dirt.
I can speak for him. He uses Mint, and he uses Mint, and he uses Mint.
Yes.
So, okay.
One of you called on me while I stepped away, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Was curious to know, what is it that you like and then dislike about your distro of choice?
I originally started using it. A lot of it had to do with media codecs and what, because it was so easy. When you install it, you tick one box, and everything kind of just works from there. If you had any other issues, you installed VLC, and it would pull in some more stuff, and everything would work. A lot of it was I have bounced around a lot of distros over the years, and I did enjoy Arch when I ran it. I think I probably ran it for about 2.5 years between Endeavor OS, Arch, and my unfortunate guidings with Manjaro for a while that were pretty bad. I did some OpenSUSE as well. It largely just boiled down to installing stuff and just having it work. I've had my gripes with KDE, I've had my gripes with Bazite, but I keep coming back to Mint because it's the one thing that seems to keep working for me. And right now, I'm kind of more leaning on the Mint Debian edition myself, just because it's rock solid. Cinnamon out of the box is pretty close to the workflow that I built through Windows 7, because that's when I learned how to use computers. When I went to college, Windows 7 was the thing, and that's how I learned how to use computers.
Makes sense.
So I built a workflow around that, and I've just kept expanding it from there, from building out workspaces and key bindings and, doing weird stuff in the terminal and things like that. So, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm married to Mint, but it is the closest to what I want out of the box. And then I just sprinkle on top the things that I want. I also like MX Linux. I have it around here too. It's an excellent toolbox, and that's one of the reasons I've always kept it on my keychain. Is because if I need a tool or something, or just boot up and do something on a machine, that's what I've always gone to.
Yeah, I think when you find that workflow you like, you probably don't really want to mess things up, essentially.
It's like a comfortable shoe. I'm sure you kind of feel that way about Tumbleweed. It's very comfortable, and when you get out of your comfort zone, then it's like, oh, well, now I got to go do this, and this. I almost went Fedora at one time. I think that would have been around Fedora 27. But their NVIDIA driver support was so bad, and the codec situation was still so bad, that after a few months of trying to make everything work, it's so much better than it used to be. It's just that has stuck with me for a while. And at the end of the day, I don't have as much time as I used to.
Yeah, that's kind of those realities, I think. Adulthood, I think. Things get busy. Well,
unfortunately, I don't have a little brain left by the time I get done doing my engineering day job. So,
yeah, there's that too. You run out of gas. So, I thought about this quite a bit, and I thought, the things I like about Tumbleweed, or I should say about the operating system I use, is the fact that it just I can count on it, and I think that's important. I think, like Dale said, being able to roll back if something does go sideways, that's kind of key for me. And then also the ability to switch kernels very easily is another huge thing that keeps a history of kernels. So there's like there's a regression in the kernel, I can go to it. But if I think about like what is it that really bothers me, or that I wish was a little bit better, and this is going to kind of combine something from that Eric said as well, is Discover. It is like almost there for me. It's almost there. Like I can do my updates most of the time with Discover, not a problem. But the way because I have multiple repositories, if something becomes out of sync and Zipper wants to basically fix repositories to make everything work better, like to kind of a proper snapshot, let's say, of packages, it Discover falls on its face, and I have to go back to the terminal. And so that pretty much says to me, the way I use my computer is not the way most people can use a computer. And so it could never be adopted by the masses, essentially. And I think that's probably the one thing that really kind of bothers me about it. And for most geeks, probably doesn't matter, but I would say that'd probably be it. So I don't know if that means anything to anybody, but anyway, so that's my thought. And that was a fun discussion. So thank you very much for that. I hope that answers Advait's questions, and move on to housekeeping here. So we're way past time, but I was having fun with this conversation. So real quick, next week is Application Appetizer. I think Scrub Ghost said last week, right as the show was ending, how about we talk about like dig into a browser. Is there any new browsers out there that you think maybe we should try out, just to like kick the tires on it again? I was thinking Vivaldi again, but I know there's been some others out there. We did Zen a while ago, And then there was, I think, Orion browser was another one. I don't know if that one's actually got a Linux version on
I'm
that. With that one
currently
yet.
running Brave Origin.
Yeah, Brave Origin is free. Orion browser is now out on Linux, but you have to sign up for the newsletter first. And then you can always put your whole security at risk by trying out Opera GX.
Opera GX? I'm not going to do that.
Gaming.
Not again.
I don't know how a browser is gaming, but sure.
It's gaming.
Well, it's only gaming because they give you a lot of tools inside it that allow you to limit very easily how much resources your browser is using for when you're gaming. So you can set it up to say that, okay, when I'm gaming, limit yourself to just one active tab and only use this amount of memory. And it's literally little tick boxes, and you can set it and forget it. So as soon as it recognizes a game is open on your system, it virtually shuts everything down apart from one simple browser window. That's why they call it gaming.
That's actually quite
Interesting.
I'm not really. I would have to feel really good about Opera again. Try that though.
No, I was only putting it out there as a little wind up.
Yeah.
I tried Waterfox, and I was actually surprised by some of the nice little things they've done. I mean, it's basically Firefox, so it's not hugely different, but excuse me, I've enjoyed using it over Firefox. Like I'm using it on my phone as well.
What is the difference? Like what is its unique selling proposition?
So it's a good question. Let's see. I'm trying to find the answers to you. I don't have like the elevator pitch in my head right now.
The only problem I've always had with Waterfox is it always seems to be 2 or 3 versions behind because it's almost like a one-man band. I don't know if it's got bigger nowadays, but you'd have Firefox on 24 and Waterfox on 20. I don't know if it still suffers from that, Eric.
That's exactly.
It's a good question.
Well,
but it was supposed to be a privacy-focused browser,
Yeah, performance and privacy are really. I mean, so for me, it's been performance. I've just noticed that it seems to run better. Like it's just. I don't know if it's just simply tuned differently. So it's literally just Firefox with better choices, or if it's literally just if there's more to it than that. Like it distros can be where it's just literally, oh, it's the same thing as the other distro, but with a different theme, or so yeah, maybe Waterfox. I just practically, from my perspective, it's like the one thing recently that I've used. I've tried the Brave, whatever that is, the Brave without the other stuff, and it's fine. It's still Brave, and I guess that's the one thing that can be said for just about every browser is like most of them are just like all of the Chromium based ones, except for Vivaldi definitely goes way off, and I was a Vivaldi diehard for a long time, but recently it's just feeling a little buggy and a little weird. Like it just does strange things that I'm not that I don't love. So I'm actually curious to see what people say in terms of like alternatives.
So I'm looking at the Brave Origin, it's brave.com/Linux, and interesting under the Flatpak is Brave is available as a Flatpak package from FlatHub. While it's maintained by Brave software, it is not yet working as well as their native package. In addition, it modifies Chromium sandboxing in ways which have not been vetted by the Brave or Chromium security teams. We currently recommend that users who are able to use our official package repositories do so instead of using the Flatpak. Interesting. We talked about that actually.
And the other interesting thing is it's free on Linux, but anybody else has got to pay for it.
Yeah,
Well,
the
they should.
Origin, yeah.
I mean, they probably figured that Linux people would figure out how to get it anyway. So if they did paywall it, I mean, there's already projects. Even like Chris Titus has a tool that debloats air quotes Brave, which gets you almost there. So you can kind of make your own if you want to. Like it saves you the time, I guess. I used it for a few weeks. It wasn't too bad. I've bounced around a little bit from browsers. I'm back on Firefox again, just because it's what I've used for quite a while. I was on Vivaldi for a while. I know they just did a whole brand new UI update in Vivaldi, so it's a little funky.
I think I'm thinking of LibreWolf was another one that's just different enough, maybe.
Yeah.
I've
But
not
again,
tried
for
that.
me, that was
If we didn't like each other, I could say let's do Edge.
I'm already doing that one.
So punishing
yeah,
you
that's no
for
problem because I install Edge on all my Linux installs.
You do?
It's my work browser.
Oh, okay.
Just so that I can come up on programs like this and wind you lot up. Edge for me just works because I've used it. Don't forget, I've only just come back into Linux. So for the last 6 years, I've been using Windows, and despite what people say, you can get it working really, really well.
No, I know, and I've used Edge myself. It's just funny how naggy it can be about certain things.
Oh yeah, but then you soon learn to turn those off. But it's like everything. You were talking about Waterfox feels quicker. I don't know if you guys remember, but we went through a plethora of websites before that says 15 things you must do after installing Firefox. And one of them was tweaking all of the settings into the, where you go config : and then you go into the individual settings. Well, I think all that Waterfox used to do was increase the buffer size, increase the bits and pieces, increase the number of times that it downloads off that website. And when you made those changes to Firefox, it was just as quick as Waterfox. So yeah, unless they're doing something different now, that's what I found before. So it saves you, like Nature said, you can run, or as War Thunder said, you can run the Chris Titus tech tool to debloat Brave, but now they've got Brave Origin, they've done it for you.
Yeah.
There's also Molvad browser, Molvad, like the VPN. They make a version for Linux, and it's basically the Tor browser without the Tor networks. They try to use the same settings that the Tor browser uses.
And the thing I love about Molvad browser is if you're streaming, you can use it to show stuff on the stream without accidentally doxing yourself, because you can set it up so that every time you shut it down, it forgets everything you've done. And you open it up again and it starts off as a brand new clean browser. No history, no nothing. So it's great for that.
This is just an aside. Does anyone use Carburetor?
Never
Which
heard
is
of it.
supposed to use
Never.
it sets up like a Tor
Had fuel injection
proxy.
for a long time.
Yeah, I heard about it. Yeah.
I was gonna say I've had one backfire.
What did you say, Adam?
I said I've had fuel injection for a long time.
Nice.
Hey, does anybody use Sigma browser?
No.
Put the link in the chat here.
Oh, Browsk. I've heard of it.
Sigma
Is that
O-
or, what's the one that is just the just a JavaScript? It's like the light. It's a super lightweight browser.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the name.
I can't think of it now.
I was just out there looking at different browsers, and this one popped up. I've never seen it.
Well, there's so many.
Yeah.
Well, there are, but they're all based on the same things, right? So
yeah.
I think
So
Sigma's
go on, Nate.
Apple. What's that?
I was going to say executive decision. You pick one for us to try.
I think let's go ahead and try, because I haven't tried it yet. I've done some others, but how about LibreWolf? Would that be all right?
Works for me.
I've got it as my backup.
All right, let's go with LibreWolf, and yeah, we'll try. We'll go with Libre. All right, cool.
now I remember what I was trying to think of. It was Florp. That's the one that I was trying to think of before. it's kind of an interesting browser.
Mostly I just like the name LibreWolf, but for other reasons. All right. Cool. Also, we have, if you have any suggestions or discussions, distribution ideas, application appetizer, poll ideas, whatever, send me suggestions at linuxsaloon.com. And yeah, try and work something in. But any suggestions are generally welcome. All right, so we're way past time for last call, like by 19 minutes. So I want to go, like, if anybody has anything like real quick, like they just want to plug, let me know. Zeb, do plug.
Not a plug, but having made all that fuss about the browsers, I can't be here next week because it's my sister's 40th wedding anniversary barbecue.
Oh, well, that's great. Well, at least share pictures of what you're eating.
I'll do that.
Okay. That'll be great. Well, we'll miss you next week. And it's also, failed to mention this, it's also a early edition of Linux Saloon as well. So we'll miss you.
That's not 4 weeks since the last one.
No, but I won't be here next week. After that. So it actually, like for me, timing wise, it just works out really well if I do it next week. So sorry, it's 3, I think, since the last one. It's gonna move around a little bit probably until I can figure it out. Bad on me. All right. Anybody else have anything you want to plug real quick before we cut out of here?
The Google Chrome, when you install that, it drags in a bunch of Google fonts. So if you use docs or websites that people have included those fonts, you don't have to go out and get them separately to have the documents or the websites to look correctly.
Well, that's good to know.
Sometimes they just uninstall the browser and it leaves the fonts behind.
That's a good tip. All right. So I have links to other people's projects going on in the show notes as well. All right. I want to thank you all for your support, however you do it, being a part of the conversation, both here on YouTube or on the Discord meeting here. As well as for everyone for watching the show after the fact. I want to thank everyone involved in making the Linux open source tools possible for us to not only have this conversation, but also to have fun and enjoy technology. Linux truly puts personal back into personal computer. Thank you for stopping by. Be sure to tip your developers, and please remember to Linux responsibly. Until next time, see you.